The company that invented video games literally buried its own product in a desert landfill. Millions of cartridges dumped under concrete in New Mexico. And that wasn't even the worst part of the story. In 1972, a guy named Nolan Bushnell started Atari in Sunnyvale, California. His first hit was Pong, a simple tennis game that showed up in bars and arcades across America. People were obsessed. Within 2 years, Atari was printing money. By 1977, they launched the Atari 2600. It became one of the first mainstream home consoles. You could play Space Invaders in your living room. Warner Communications bought Atari for $28 million, and within a few years, the division was generating $2 billion in annual revenue. Atari was the fastest-growing company in American history at that point. They controlled about 80% of the home video game market. If you played games in the early 80s, you played Atari. There was no second place. But here's where the cracks started. Atari had almost no quality control. Any developer could make a game for the 2600. The market flooded with garbage. Hundreds of terrible games hit shelves. Consumers got burned and they started walking away. Looking back, the warning signs were screaming. When you let anyone make anything with your name on it, you lose control of what your name means. Then came E.T. In 1982, Atari paid $20 million for the rights to make a video game based on Steven Spielberg's blockbuster. They gave the developer 5 weeks to build it. 5 weeks. The result was one of the worst video games ever made. Atari manufactured millions of E.T. cartridges, expecting a holiday smash. Instead, stores couldn't give them away. Returns piled up. The game became a symbol of everything wrong with the industry. In September 1983, Atari loaded 14 truckloads of unsold cartridges. They drove them to a landfill in Alamogordo, New Mexico, dumped them in a pit, poured concrete over the top. For 30 years, people thought it was an urban legend. In 2014, they actually dug them up. Think about that for a second. A company that was making $2 billion a year was so broken that its best option was to bury its own product under concrete in the desert. The video game crash of 1983 wiped out the entire North American market. Revenue dropped 97% in 2 years, from $3.2 billion to $100 million. Atari lost over $500 million. Warner sold off the home console division in 1984 to Jack Tramiel, the founder of Commodore. What came next was decades of corporate musical chairs. Tramiel's Atari Corporation tried and failed to compete with Nintendo. They merged with a disk drive company in '96. Hasbro bought the name in '98. Then a French company called Infogrames bought it in 2001. Each new owner thought they could revive the magic. None of them could. The brand filed for bankruptcy protection in 2013. By that point, Atari was just a name on a licensing deal. No real products, no real team. Just a logo that reminded people of a time when gaming was simple. The thing about Atari is they didn't just fail. They took the whole industry down with them. The '83 crash was so bad that retailers refused to stock video games for years. Nintendo had to call the NES an entertainment system just to get stores to carry it. Today, the gaming industry makes over $200 billion a year. Atari helped build that, but they didn't get to enjoy any of it. The company that created Pong, that put a console in every living room, that defined an entire generation of entertainment, couldn't survive its own success. Atari proved something. Being first doesn't mean you'll be last. They helped build an industry now worth hundreds of billions and walked away with nothing. If you think this story is just about video games, you're not paying attention. It's about what happens when growth moves faster than the people trying to control it. What would you have done differently? Let us know in the comments.